The bass draws a circle and the circle becomes law. Every kick falls into a carved space where hesitation fades, hands hover above keys. Yet the pocket pulls them inward. Motion listens before it speaks. Silence bends, storing tension. Small accents rise like markers on a map, guiding each layer toward a calm internal gravity. I feel the center turn, tighten around each phrase. Drifting ideas return like disciplined satellites. Time and whispers commands that no sound can ignore. The core becomes authority without a voice. Pocketed termite, pocketed termite. Flow center groove authority. It defines the session. Movement and secession. Movement answer. Gravity instead of impulse. Pocket determined. Flow the pocket becomes command and curve becomes subordinate. Every tone, rhythm accepts its frame. Patterns align like ordered streets. Repetition becomes architecture for thought. Baseline speaks in measured steps. Chords stacked like balanced floors in a quiet structure. Percussion acts as signage for motion, directing the body without raising its volume. When freedom tempts with open space, the core pulls back like tide under moon logic. It be determined, failure sermon. Each register's or just a bones to the anchor. Pocket determined. Flow with time becomes command and flow becomes subordinate. Does the maze on, does the man and determined. Continue inside its governed circle. They settle into their assigned zones. Motion remains centered yet alive. Authority persists without tension as the session fades into disciplined continuity. Yeah. Stay centered while thoughts try to slide. Subtle echoes pull the edges, but the frame remains tight. Bass holds ground like a line drawn in low air. Drums mark borders with calm precision. Every layer aware of its lane, every accent restrained. I keep motion inside intention where structure breathes without collapse. The temptation moves like current under skin, but timing acts as a barrier. Space becomes a rule. Silence and days of measured gap. Do not drift, contain motion, discipline inside. Structured balance, every beat returns to resist the current. Do not drift. Patterns repeat with subtle authority. Loops refuse to wander beyond assigned measures. Chords stretch but never break their geometry. Rhythms architecture that guides the body quietly. I learned stability through repetition, repetition through intent. push toward chaos, the frame absorbs them. Drift turns into calibrated deviation. Motion bends but never escapes the measured field. Order persists through intentional drift. Contain motion, discipline inside. Timing enforces boundaries and flow remains precise. Do not drift. Every register a tour position. Controlled motion defines the session and anchors perception. Hover without escape. Structure holds a session in calm suspension. Motion circles within its disciplined frame. Drift dissolves in a balanced stillness. The frame is drawn in quiet lines across the floor of the session. Every tone placed with intent while low drums whisper guidance beneath layered keys. The bass line rests like a boundary that keeps thought from drifting too far. I move within the margins where structure protects motion and certainty grows inside repeated cycles that never collects into noise. When structure holds frame groove stability under steady motion, each layer rests in balance within the defined pocket. Find structure holds the system, remains calm and movement stays inside. Revisit the grid where earlier steps were placed. Each return adds without distortion. Harmonic layers hover like architectural beams. Over and floors, the loop repeats but never feels static, because order creates discipline becomes the source of fluidity inside fixed geometry. Tension resolves through structural patience. Silence becomes a porting and pillar between phrases. Controlled pressure shapes consequence, while drift is absorbed by the frame in motion. Finds safety in engineered restraint. Structure holds frame groove stability under steady motion. Each layer rests in balance within the defined pocket beside day. Structure holds the system, remains calm and movement stays inside. The deliberate border moves the stains with minimal the groove sustains with minimal shifts, echo inside the frame while bass anchors the architecture. Subsidal with quiet authority, and the structured field remains intact as motion settles into endless measured continuity. Thank you. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Yeah. Low frequency stretch beneath the surface like hidden rail. Each cycle marks distance not by seconds but by weight. The bass line presses into the floor, and time bends around its steady mass. Drums follow like footsteps tracing the map corridor. Keys hover above but never escape the gravity. Every layer senses the anchor and aligns with the grounded core. The moment slows as the foundation asserts its presence. Obedient to memory turns into measurable intervals. The groove settles into a timeline carved by depth and low register certainty. Turns into measurable intervals. The groove settles into a timeline carved by depth and low register certainty. Time grounded temporal, yeah. There's when it be files that pierce and peel like markers on a long track. The bass reminds them where they stand, swing leans forward, but returns to center, pattern stretch but never drift beyond the anchored field. Yeah, the session unfolds as a measured journey guided by persistent low motion. When silence attempts to interrupt the sequence,
the foundation fills the gap with presence. Instability dissolves into weighted continuity. Each layer trusts the anchor and expands without losing its temporal coordinates. The groove becomes architecture for duration itself. The bass continues long after other element. Time remains into its vibration. The session breathes within the anchored field, and duration fades with weight still holding every moment in place.
The count begins before thought forms a plan. Slow ticks mapping paths across an open floor. Each step guided by subtle markers in the low register. While chords trace routes in muted layers, I follow the pace like a compass, built from tone and letting measured motion decide where the session breathes and where intention settles. The guide is quiet but absolute, tempo, hand on the shoulder, urgent without force, shaping distance between moments until direction feels inevitable. Set direction, measure, every beat points to, every beat points forward. Inside the pocket layers respond in a line balance. That's direction, steady timing becomes the map for control movement. I trace the path again with deeper awareness. Accents mark and turns like signs in a dim corridor. Baseline anchors the journey while drums sketch roads in gentle strokes. Repetition becomes navigation and navigation becomes instant inside repeated cycle. When pace shifts slightly, the route adjusts without collapse. Structure absorbs deviation and returns motion to center. Silence acts as a waypoint and harmony acts as dense. Got an intent through calibrated spaces. Tempo, set direction, measure every beat motion. Every beat points forward. Inside the pocket layers respond in a mind. Tempo, the path still visible. Tempo like a steady beacon. Chords and bass continue tracing invisible routes as motion settles into a guided loop that never loses its orientation.
The room breathes in tempo that never asks for permission. Keys fall like soft markers on a quiet map. Bass walks steady with ground intention. Brushes trace circles that imply motion without demand. Every layer respects the pocket as a shared agreement. And the session moves as if guided by quiet consensus rather than command. No urgency pulls the pattern forward. No pressure bends the frame. Timing listens to itself and responds. Movement appears because it feels inevitable, not because it is pushed. Flow, flow without force. The rhythm moves on its own. Flow without force. Persistence built from patient layers. Flow without force. The groove stays alive by simply continuing. Motifs repeat like calm signals in a controlled environment. It's a place dramatic statements accent surface then dissolve back into the frame. Repetition becomes reassurance rather. Each instrument trusts the shared current to carry intent.
When intensity threatens to rise, it dissolves into measured space. The loop absorbs friction and turns it into continuity. Balance becomes annuity, balance the quiet engine that keeps motion alive without visible effort.
Flow without force, time and sustains the motion. Flow without force remains in steady alignment. Flow without force, persistence defines the session as calm authority. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Drop to sparse outlines while the chord pulse continues. Silence joins the structure as an equal layer, and the track fades with motion implied rather than enforced.
Yeah, yeah. Numbers flash like markers on a quiet console. 1 to 20 locked into the grid where intention becomes structures trace coordinates under steady hands. Drums mark reference points instead of emotion. Keys annotate space with controlled intervals. And the session unfolds like a system designed to remember every placement. No rush inside this coded framework. Every accent checks against the metric plan. Motion waits for permission from calculated intent, and silence confirms the rule set. Session code, the grid defines the session. Session code, or re-hit aligned in numeric space. Session code. sequence seeks loops, verify stability with repeated precision. Deviations logged as deliberate design, swing reduced to a parameter, not a whim, and tone layered as if following a blueprint. Drafted before sound existed. If impulse appears, it is quantified and stored. If drift occurs, the system recalibrates. Weight and time and creation need no rushing. Code 20. The grid defines the session code. Hit aligned in numeric space. Session code. Signals decay while the framework remains active. Residual beats echo like system logs in fading memory. And the numeric session closes without breaking its internal code. Whoa, yeah, hey. Ooh, 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 ooh. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Yeah. Ooh, 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 ooh. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Ooh, yeah. Quiet bars assemble like architecture in slow construction. Bass marks the floor where motion is allowed to exist. But piano sketches lines that imply direction without forcing it. Drums whisper permission through disciplined patterns. Every layer waits for structure to signal movement. Thought becomes spatial design and the session unfolds like a blueprint. Becoming audible form, decisions happen before sound arrives. Motion is a consequence, not a desire. Timing reads the blueprint and follows with design. Motion order logic drives every frame. Motion movement follows predefined lines. Motion, the groove accepts design and flows inside. Constructed rhythm. Horns trace corridors between chords without breaking alignment. Textures stack like floors in a measured build. Repetition becomes scaffolding for subtlety. The loop teaches direction through constraint, and every accent acknowledges the governing framework beneath the surface. When drift attempts to appear, it is redirected by pattern. Tension resolves into planned motion. Intention replaces impulse, and design transforms uncertainty into navigable pathways. Motion, the grid remains a silent architect. Motion, each pulse follows drawn trajectories. Motion control movement sustains the session in deliberate form. Reduced to skeletal rhythm as architecture remains implied. Motion fades. An invisible guide, the groove end, is a design remembered rather than a sound heard. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. The room breathes and counted bars when nothing breaks the grid. Soft drums trace lines that never argue with the measure. Bass settles like a quiet rule beneath every phrase. Keys repeat gentle statements with discipline, restraint. Motion waits behind intention. Every layer respects the silent law of structure, and calm becomes the default language of the session. Numbers shape the feeling more than emotion. More than emotions are placed with deliberate certainty. Rather as comfort, as comfort, as controlled extension, controlled extension. Measuring for calm, regulated stillness across the frame. Measuring for calm, each beat aligns the wandering mind. Measuring for calm, the groove of bass drum finds peace inside measured time. A muted horn answers the piano without breaking symmetry. Disappear only where space invites them. The loop repeats like a disciplined thought cycle. Motion stays contained within invisible borders. The session teaches patience as a rhythmic virtue, and every phrase acknowledge a measure. When tension rises, it is absorbed by the grid. Strux becomes a stabilizing hand. Drift dissolves into counted intention. Transition turns uncertainty, control current. Measuring force, calm, the rain remains unshaken. Measuring force, calm, timing governs every subtle move. Ooh. Measuring force, calm, the groove survives by accepting measured boundaries as its natural center. Bars continue with reduced motion as layers, resolution. Like after sound retreats, calm persists as an enforced memory that lingers in the empty session space. In the quiet brittle lay steady hours, I trace the flow in deliberate increments. Break the line with your drums and ladle like structured thought. Weighted piston, visible imagines why the baseline throws in the drifting in the drifting perception. Discipline replaces impulse and intention. Settles in a calculated motion where nothing arrives before its time. I can't be internal cycles in calm repetition. Hesitation dissolves into barrenless layers, waiting for the moment the certainty locks into collision. Timing becomes a final to move. Control the post, stable timing. Calm beneath the surface, measure beats, define the frame for every decision. Control motion rests inside the pocket with calm authority. Control post, stable time. Control the post, let structure stable auto-calibrated cycle. Silence functions as an intention. Precedes control. The groove continues in The groove continues in measured repetition. The groove continues in measured repetition. Control the stable time. Timing. The groove continues in measured repetition. In the groove continues in measured repetition. Control the pulse. Stable timing. The frame is drawn in silent lines across the session floor. Markers placed by tone and register. Motion circles the boundary, testing where the edges breathe rhythm. Leans toward escape, the structure tightens its hold. Each layer weighs freedom against alignment. The pocket whispers caution while drift invites expansion. The balance hangs in measured air. The pattern questions its own limits. Space opens and closes with deliberate timing. The current pushes outward, but the grid remains. Tension, quiet diaphragm or drift. Structural versus motion. Tension holds a session in suspension. Frame or drift. Every beat negotiates direction. Frame or drift, balanced. Decides where the flow remains contained or released into open timing. Subtle shifts in tempo, sketch new borders inside the frame. Accents test corners where drift might bloom. The baseline negotiates authority with motion. Keys trace, curved roots inside rigid measures. Each repetition feels different yet contained. Freedom exists but only through discipline. Wary. When motion strains against geometry, the groove breathes through constraints. Struck comes a partner, not a prison. Drift becomes a controlled gesture rather than collapse. The session learns that tension is the engine that keeps intention alive. Inaudible frame or drift. Structural versus motion. Tension defines a character of time or drift. The pocket answers every question with balance. Frame or drift, movement survives because structure allows it to exist with purpose and direction. The frame slowly fades to down logic Drift settles into intentional arcs, motion in one continuous field, and the groove persists as a quiet equilibrium between boundaries and flow.
Yeah, repeated figures draw invisible lines across the room. Each bar becomes a corridor for thought. The drums mark steps on a quiet floor. Bass traces the architecture of intention. Keys flow, but return to their assigned places. The loop speaks in measured cycles, shaping instinct into deliberate motion and guiding every layer into disciplined pathways. The repetition feels less like confinement and more like design. Freedom moves inside a pattern grid. Timing acts as an unseen hand that adjusts every gesture until it fits the structural plan. Pattern shapes, mold, influence defines direction. Every accent fence, don't know to the design of fire. Pattern shapes, mold, influence defines direction. Movement gets into. Yeah. Every actions appear like windows cut into solid walls. They illuminate the interior of a T-chain, so it never floats away. Percussion edits silence into precise gaps. The loop educates impulse and turns wander ideas into aligned trajectories. When chaos approaches with raw gestures, the structure absorbs it like a tuned filter. Deviations become features instead of fractures. Motion learns restraint and becomes articulate through constrained identity. Pattern shape, move, influence defines direction. Every accent fits, go to the design frame. In shapes, move, influence defines direction. Every accent The loop continues like a steady instructor. Motion follows its geometry without resistance. Layers breathe within their structured limits, and the session fades with me, shaped by invisible design. The session starts with quiet breathing under layer tone. The beat waits before the body moves. Every accent hovers in suspended tension. The bass line speaks before hands decide. Timing sketches invisible paths across the frame. Structure listens while motion holds back. Patience becomes the first instrument in the room. The pocket opens like a measured door. Space is counted and subtle is sounded. The loop prepares for weight but refuses to rush. Intention forms profound escape in emotion. Calls before action, time and precedes. motion inside the core. Pulse before action, every beat instructs the body how to move. Pulse before action, control of time, it becomes the quiet authority, guiding flow. Keys repeat a phrase that feels both known and restrained. Drums test edges without crossing the grid. The groove teaches delay as a form of power. Motion is designed rather than impulsive. Repetition carves discipline into the session. Silence becomes part of the rhythmic architecture. When the urge to move rises, the pulse holds its ground. Structure becomes a mentor, not a limit. Delayed motion gains gravity through restraint. Each layer agrees that anticipation defines the character of the groove. Pulse before action, timing precedes motion in every register. Pulse before action, the session follows measured instruction. Pulse before action, the groove survives because time leads movement into stable, controlled balance. The pulse continues alone for a motion slowly follows in careful steps. Careful steps and drift merge, turning into flow, and timing is dissolved until you're slow. Yeah, yeah. Quiet clocks lean into measured seconds. Every hit lands before speaking argue. Yeah. Bass outline decisions in low register patience. Keys mark boundaries like invisible grid lines. The session listens more than it speaks, and motion forms as a result of timing, choosing its own authority within the frame. Speed waits up permission from intention. Layers if guided by unseen markers. Riddles disputes by landing first, and timing rules. Tempo, the hierarchy is clear. Timing rules. Tempo, each beat sets the order. Timing rules. Tempo motion obeys the silent grid that defines a session. That defines a session. Yeah. Patterns repeat with deliberate restraint. Micro delay signal confidence instead of doubt. Accents appear like controlled signals in a system. Every loop confirms that placement outweighs velocity. When momentum tries to accelerate, the grid absorbs excess motion. When drift, the beat realigns the frame. Control emerges from consent placement rather than volume or urgency. Timing rules. Tempo, the structure speaks through placement. Timing rules. Tempo, gravity forms from precise hits. Timing rules. Tempo, the track survives by honoring measured hierarchy. Measured hierarchy. Elements thin until only pulse and silence negotiate space. The grid remains implied while sound fades and control persists, even as the session dissolves into quiet continuation.
Yeah. bass draws a circle and the circle becomes law. Every kick falls into a carved space where hesitation fades, hands hover above keys. Yet the pocket pulls them inward. Motion listens before it speaks. Silence bends, storing tension. Small accents rise like markers on a map, guiding each layer toward a calm internal gravity. I feel the center turn, tighten around each phrase. Drifting ideas return like disciplined satellites. Time and whispers commands that no sound can ignore. The chord becomes authority without a voice. Pocketed termite, pocketed termite. Flow, center, groove, authority. It defines the session. Movement and secession. Movement answer. Gravity instead of impulse. Pocket determined. Flow, the pocket becomes command and curve becomes subordinate. Every tone, rhythm, accepted frame. Patterns align like ordered streets. Repetition becomes architecture for thought. Baseline speaks in measured steps. Chords stacked like balanced floors in a quiet structure. Percussion acts as signage for motion, directing the body without raising its volume. When freedom tempts with open space, the core pulls back like tide under moon logic. It be determined, failure, center, each register's or just a bones to the anchor. Pocket determined. Time becomes command and flow becomes subordinate. Does the maze, does the maze, and determined. Continue inside its governed circle. They settle into their assigned zones.
Motion remains centered yet alive. Authority persists without tension as the session fades into disciplined continuity.
Stays centered while thoughts try to slide. Subtle echoes pull the edges, but the frame remains tight. Bass holds ground like a line drawn in low air. Drums mark borders with calm precision. Every layer aware of its lane, every accent restrained. I keep motion inside intention where structure breathes without collapse. The temptation moves like current under skin, but timing acts as a barrier. Space becomes a rule. Silenced in days of measured gap. Do not drift, contain motion. Discipline inside. Structured balance, every beat returns to resist the current. Do not drift. Patterns repeat with subtle authority. Loops refuse to wander beyond a sign. Measures chords stretch but never break their geometry. Rhythms architecture that guides the body quietly. I learned stability through repetition. Through intent. When impulse
impulses push toward chaos, the frame absorbs them. Drift turns into calibrated deviation. Motion bends but never escapes the measured field. Order persists through intentional betrayal.
Contain motion, discipline inside. Timing enforces boundaries and flow remains precise. Do not drift. Every register a tour position. Controlled motion defines the session and anchors perception. Measures hover without escape. Structure holds a session in calm suspension. Motion circles within its disciplined frame. Drift dissolves in a balanced stillness. Yeah, 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 yeah. The frame is drawn in quiet lines across the floor of the session. Every tone placed with intent while low drums whisper guidance beneath layered keys. The bass line rests like a boundary that keeps thought from drifting too far. I move within the margins where structure protects motion and certainty grows inside repeated cycles that never collects into noise. When structure holds frame groove stability under steady motion, each layer rests in balance within the defined pocket. Find structure holds the system, remains calm and movement stays inside. I revisit the grid where earlier steps were placed. Each return adds without distortion. Harmonic layers hover like architectural beams. Over and floors, the loop repeats but never feels static, because order creates discipline becomes the source of fluidity inside fixed geometry. Tension resolves through structural patience. Silence becomes a porting and pillar between phrases. Controlled pressure shapes consequence, while drift is absorbed by the frame in motion. Finds safety in engineered restraint. Structure holds frame groove stability under steady motion. Each layer rests in balance within the defined pocket beside day. Structure holds the system, remains calm and movement stays inside. Deliberate border holds the stains with minimal sensitivity. The groove sustains with minimal shifts, echo inside the frame while bass anchors the architecture of cider with quiet authority, and the structured field remains intact as motion settles into endless measured continuity. Thank you. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Yeah. Low frequency stretch beneath the surface like hidden rail.
Each cycle marks distance not by seconds but by weight. The bass line presses into the floor, and time bends around its steady mass. Drums follow like footsteps tracing the map corridor. Keys hover above but never escape the gravity. Every layer senses the anchor and aligns with the grounded core. The moment slows as the foundation asserts its presence. Obedient to memory turns into measurable intervals. The groove settles into a timeline carved by depth and low register certainty. Turns into measurable intervals. The groove settles into a timeline carved by depth and low register certainty. Time grounded temporal, yeah. There's when it be files that pierce and peel like markers on a long track. The bass reminds them where they stand, swing leans forward but returns to center. Pattern stretch but never drift beyond the anchored field. Yeah, the session unfolds as a measured journey guided by persistent low motion. When silence attempts to interrupt the sequence,
The foundation fills the gap with presence. Instability dissolves into weighted continuity. Each layer trusts the anchor and expands without losing its temporal coordinates. The groove becomes architecture for duration itself. The bass continues long after other element. Time remains into his vibration. The session breathes within the anchored field, and duration fades with weight still holding every moment in place.
The count begins before thought forms a plan. Slow ticks mapping paths across an open floor. Each step guided by subtle markers in the low register. While chords trace routes in muted layers, I follow the bass like a compass, built from tone and let in measured motion decide where the session breathes and where intention settles. The guide is quiet but absolute, temper, her hand on the shoulder, urgent without force, shaping distance between moments until direction feels inevitable. Set direction, measure, every beat points to, every beat points forward. Inside the pocket layers respond in a line, balance, that's direction. Steady timing becomes the map for controlled movement. I trace the path again with deeper awareness. Accents mark and turns like signs in a dim corridor. Bassline anchors the journey while drums sketch roads in gentle strokes. Repetition becomes navigation and navigation becomes instant inside repeated cycles. When pace shifts slightly, the route adjusts without collapse. Structure absorbs deviation and returns motion to center. Silence acts as a waypoint and harmony acts as dense. Guiding intent through calibrated spaces. Tempo, set direction. Measure every beat motion. Every beat points forward. Inside the pocket layers respond in alignment. Tempo, session with the path still visible. Tempo like a steady beacon. Chords and bass continue tracing invisible routes as motion settles into a guided loop that never loses its orientation.
The room breathes in tempo that never asks for permission. Keys fall like soft markers on a quiet map. Bass walks steady with ground intention. Brushes trace circles that imply motion without demand. Every layer respects the pocket as a shared agreement. And the session moves as if guided by quiet consensus rather than command. No urgency pulls the pattern forward. No pressure bends the frame. Timing listens to itself and responds. Movement appears because it feels inevitable, not because it is pushed. Flow, flow without force. The rhythm moves on its own. Flow without force. Persistence built from patient layers. Flow without force. The groove stays alive by simply continuing. Motifs repeat like calm signals in a controlled environment. So place dramatic statements, accent surface, then dissolve back into the frame. Repetition becomes reassurance rather. Each instrument trusts the shared current to carry intent.
When intensity threatens to rise, it dissolves into measured space. The loop absorbs friction and turns it into continuity. Balance becomes annuity. Balance, the quiet engine that keeps motion alive without visible effort.
Flow without force. Time and sustains the motion. Flow without force remains in steady alignment. Flow without force. Persistence defines the session as calm authority. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Kettleman. Elements drop to sparse outlines while the chord pulse continues. Silence joins the structure as an equal layer, and the track fades with motion implied rather than enforced.
Oh, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Numbers flash like markers on a quiet console. 1 to 20 locked into the grid where intention becomes structures, trace coordinates under steady hands. Drums mark reference points instead of emotion. Keys annotate space with controlled intervals, and the session unfolds like a system designed to remember every placement. No rush inside this coded framework. Every accent checks against the metric plan. Motion waits for permission from calculated intent, and silence confirms the rule set. Session code, the grid defines the session. Session code, or hit aligned in numeric space. Session code. Oh, that no, da 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 da.
sequence seeks loops, verify stability with repeated precision. Deviations logged as deliberate design, swing reduced to a parameter, not a whim, and tone layered as if following a blueprint. Drafted before sound existed. If impulse appears, it is quantified and stored. If drift occurs, the system recalibrates. Weight and time and creation need no rushing. Code 20. The grid defines the session code. Hit aligned in numeric space. Session code. Signals decay while the framework remains active. Residual beats echo like system logs in fading memory. And the numeric session closes without breaking its internal code.
Whoa, yeah, hey. Ooh, 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 ooh. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Yeah. Ooh, 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 ooh. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Ooh, yeah. Quiet bars assemble like architecture in slow construction. Bass marks the floor where motion is allowed to exist. But piano sketches lines that imply direction without forcing it. Drums whisper permission through disciplined patterns. Every layer waits for structure to signal movement. Thought becomes spatial design and the session unfolds like a blueprint. Becoming audible form, decisions happen before sound arrives. Motion is a consequence, not a desire. Timing reads the blueprint and follows with design. Motion order logic drives every frame. Motion movement follows predefined lines. Motion, the groove accepts design and flows inside. Yeah. Constructed rhythm. Yeah. Horns trace corridors between chords without breaking alignment. Textures stack like floors in a measured build. Repetition becomes scaffolding for subtlety. The loop teaches direction through constraint, and every accent acknowledges the governing framework beneath the surface.
When drift attempts to appear, it is redirected by pattern. Tension resolves into planned motion. Intention replaces impulse, and design transforms uncertainty into navigable pathways.
Motion, the grid remains a silent architect. Motion, each pulse follows drawn trajectories. Structure, motion, control, movement sustains the session in deliberate form.
Layers reduced to skeletal rhythm as architecture remains implied. Motion fades. An invisible guide, the groove ends. Is a design remembered rather than a sound heard.
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. The room breathes and counted bars when nothing breaks the grid. Soft drums trace lines that never argue with the measure. Bass settles like a quiet rule beneath every phrase. Keys repeat gentle statements with discipline, restraint. Motion waits behind intention. Every layer respects the silent law of structure, and calm becomes the default language of the session. Numbers shape the feeling more than emotion. More than emotions are placed with deliberate certainty. Rather as comfort, as control, extension, control, extension. Measuring for calm, regulated stillness across the frame. Measuring for calm, each beat aligns the wandering mind. Measuring for calm, the groove ovation finds peace inside measured time. A muted horn answers the piano without breaking symmetry. Disappear only where space invites them. The loop repeats like a disciplined thought cycle. Motion stays contained within invisible borders. The session teaches patience as a rhythmic virtue, and every phrase acknowledge a measure. When tension rises, it is absorbed by the grid. Strux becomes a stabilizing hand. Drift dissolves into counted intention. Transition turns uncertainty, control current. Measuring force, calm, the rain remains unshaken. Measuring force, calm, timing governs every subtle move. Ooh. Measuring force, calm, the groove survives by accepting measured boundaries as its natural center. Bars continue with reduced motion as layers, resolution. Like after sound retreats, calm persists as an enforced memory that lingers in the empty session space. I'm gonna call it home. In the quiet brittle late city hours, I trace the flow in deliberate increments. Break the line with your drums and ladle like structured thought. Step, weight existing, visible imagines while the baseline throws in the drifting perception. Discipline replaces impulse and intention. Settles in a calculated motion where nothing arrives before its time. I can't be internal cycles in calm repetition. Hesitation dissolves into barrenless layers, waiting for the moment the certainty like sense of collision. Timing becomes a final to move. Control the post-stable timing. Calm beneath the surface, measure beats, define the frame for every decision. Control motion rests inside the pocket with calm authority. Control post-stable time. Control the post, let structure time carries me and never feels heavy. Low tones anchor floating thought to rounded frame that shift position only when the beat confirms the
repetition. The groove continues in measured repetition. Control the stable time. Timing. The groove continues in measured repetition. In the groove continues in measured repetition.
The frame is drawn in silent lines across the session floor. Markers placed by tone and register. Motion circles the boundary, testing where the edges breathe rhythm. Leans toward escape, the structure tightens its hold. Each layer weighs freedom against alignment. The pocket whispers caution while drift invites expansion. The balance hangs in measured air. Pattern questions its own limits. Space opens and closes with deliberate timing. The current pushes outward, but the grid remains. Tension, quiet diaphragm or drift. Structural versus motion. Tension holds the session in suspension. Frame or drift. Every beat negotiates direction. Frame or drift, balanced. Decides where the flow remains contained or release into open timing. Subtle shifts in tempo, sketch new borders inside the frame. Accents test corners where drift might bloom. The baseline negotiates authority with motion. Keys trace, curved roots inside rigid measures. Each repetition feels different yet contained. Freedom exists but only through discipline. When motion strains against geometry, the groove breathes through constraint. Struck comes a partner, not a prison. Drift becomes a controlled gesture rather than collapse. The session learns that tension is the engine that keeps intention alive and audible. Frame or drift, structural versus motion. Tension defines the character of time or drift. The pocket answers every question with balance. Frame or drift, movement survives because structure allows it to exist with purpose and direction. The frame slowly fades to down logic. Drift settles into intentional arcs. Motion in one continuous field, and the groove persists as a quiet equilibrium between boundaries and flow. Ba-ba-da-ba, ba, 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 da. Ba-ba-da-ba, ba, 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 da, da, da. Yeah. Repeated figures draw invisible lines across the room. Each bar becomes a corridor for thought. The drums mark steps on a quiet floor.
Bass traces the architecture of intention. Keys flow, but return to their assigned places. The loop speaks in measured cycles, shaping instinct into deliberate motion and guiding every layer into disciplined pathways. The repetition feels less like confinement and more like design. Freedom moves inside a pattern grid. Timing acts as an unseen hand that adjusts every gesture until it fits the structural plan. Pattern shapes, mold, influence defines direction. Every accent fence, told no to the design of fire. Pattern shapes, mold, influence defines direction. Movement gets in every actions appear like windows cut into solid walls. They illuminate the interior of a Z-chain, so it never floats away. Percussion edits silence into precise gaps. The loop educates impulse and turns wander ideas into aligned trajectories. When chaos approaches with raw gestures, the structure absorbs it like a tuned filter. Deviations become features instead of fractions. Motion learns restraint and becomes articulate through constrained identity. Pattern shape, move, influence defines direction. Every accent fits, go to the design frame. In shapes, move, influence defines direction. Every accent The loop continues like a steady instructor. Motion follows its geometry without resistance. Layers breathe within their structured limits, and the session fades with me, shaped by invisible design. The session starts with quiet breathing under layer tone. The beat waits before the body moves. Every accent hovers in suspended tension. The bass line speaks before hands decide. Timing sketches invisible paths across the frame. Structure listens while motion holds back. Patience becomes the first instrument in the room. The pocket opens like a measured door. Space is counted and stutter is sounded. The loop prepares for weight but refuses to rush. Intention forms but found escape in emotion. Calls before action, timing precedes motion inside the core. Calls before action, every beat instructs the body how to move. Calls before action, control of time it becomes the quiet authority, guiding flow. Keys repeat a phrase that feels both known and restrained. Drums test edges without crossing the grid. The groove teaches delay as a form of power. Motion is designed rather than impulsive.
Repetition carves discipline into the session. Silence becomes part of the rhythmic architecture. When the urge to move rises, the pulse holds its ground. Structure becomes a mentor, not a limit. Delayed motion gains gravity through restraint. Each layer agrees that anticipation defines the character of the groove. Pose before action, timing precedes motion in every register. Pose before action, the session follows measured instruction. Pose before action, the groove survives because timing leads movement into stable, controlled balance. The pulse continues alone for a motion slowly follows in careful steps. Careful steps and drift merge, turning into flow, and timing is the zone until you're slow. Yeah. Quiet clocks lean into measured seconds. Every hit lands before speaking argue. Yeah. Bass outline decisions in low register patience. Keys mark boundaries like invisible grid lines. The session listens more than it speaks, and motion forms as a result of timing, choosing its own authority within the frame. Speed waits on permission from intention. Layers if guided by unseen markers. Riddles disputes by landing first, and timing rules. Tempo, the hierarchy is clear. Timing rules. Tempo, each beat sets the order. Timing rules. Tempo motion obeys the silent grid that defines the session. That defines the session. Yeah. Patterns repeat with deliberate restraint. Micro delays signal confidence instead of doubt. Accents appear like controlled signals in a system. And every loop confirms that placement outweighs velocity. When momentum tries to accelerate, the grid absorbs excess motion. When drift, the beat realigns the frame. Control emerges from constant placement rather than volume or urgency. Timing rules. Tempo, the structure speaks through placement. Timing rules. Tempo, gravity forms from precise hits. Timing rules. Tempo, the track survives by honoring measured hierarchy. Measured hierarchy. Elements thin until only pulse and silence negotiate space. The grid remains implied while sound fades and control persists, even as the session dissolves into quiet continuation.